Mindfulness. Mindfulness. What's the purpose of the spiritual journey? What's the purpose? To awaken. That's what Buddha means, is the awakened one. So we awaken to that Buddha nature, that Christ consciousness, the presence of God that's available and within at all times, but awaits choice. So we're going to explore ways that we can get to experiencing that presence. Okay? Here we go. The world around us, it's just going 120 miles an hour, isn't it? So that's out there. What's happening in here? Does it influence us? Does it make us want to move quicker? Move our pace? We're always running from meeting to meeting. You know, we were house shopping. We finally just gave up. It's like, okay, Spirit, just drop it in our lap. The place we're supposed to be. You know the details. We had to alleviate stress. You know, we try to control what's going on in our inner world. I read the other day that we experience, but thanks for all the math this morning, Clay. By the way, I'm hearing a ring. Are you guys hearing a ring a little bit? No? Yeah, a little bit. I'm getting a little ring on. Thanks. That we think something like 50 to 70,000 thoughts a day. So, which breaks down to 35 to 48 thoughts per minute. And how many of you know what monkey mind is? Everybody. So we sit down to try to quiet the mind. You know, the brain is just cranking out thoughts, and we're trying to control it. You know, like pull the reins in. Whoa, you know, come on back, settle down. I was wondering if they were just surveying folks with ADD, but it turns out everybody's subject to the same brain function. So the things that are most, I think, seductive to thinkingness are the things we get juice off of. Things we hear in the news that just hook us. And we're like, ugh. You know, we really get juicy. And we get a good mad out of something. Or we feel really good about something. But it's about something out there that draws us into feeling. I did a talk one time. I was wondering about how can you escape the presence of God? The answer is we can't. But intellectually, we can shut down the brain by diving into the past or projecting out into the future. And we're not present with the presence. And same with thinkingness. The self-talk that's going on inside of us. I've talked a lot about that lately, about trying to encourage the self-talk to be positive by loving yourself, learning to love ourselves. So when that inner critic is starting to crack the whip, we can change the language of the inner critic by practicing self-love. Yeah, that's in the past. Now we're just trying to be present and to be mindful of our surroundings. So last week we had Robert Brummett was here. I've had many teachers in my life. I've had two great ones that have been alive on the planet when I've been alive, and Robert was one of them. Doc Hawkins was the other. And my other teachers are Jesus and the Buddha. Pretty good company, huh? So Robert was, keep trying to get us to go back to the breath, go back to the breath. And in the retreat, the insight meditation retreat that he led, he would every now and then speak. And he would talk about, like thoughts are like being at a train station, sitting on the platform, relaxing, and the trains are coming and going, but you don't have to get into the train. We're just being mindful and present and aware of the thoughts. But we don't want to get into those rail cars and go somewhere we don't want to go. We want to be here, but we want to just observe and see what's going without being attached to a particular outcome, a particular destination, a particular want or hope. And this incessant self-talk, do you ever get tired of hearing your own opinions rattling around up here? I do. I'm like, gosh, just shut up, you know? And invariably, I speak that opinion too many times, and I begin to notice people really don't want to hear what I have to say. Once I was watching the Super Bowl at a guy that was an adamant Green Bay Packers fan. And that was the year the Broncos won, and I was cheering for the Broncos, you know, and he didn't like it. I didn't get invited back the next year. So I got to hold my opinions to myself. But you get a hall pass. Here's the deal. You don't have to have an opinion about everything. It's okay. And in fact, when we come to that place where we can realize that I don't have to have an opinion about this or that, it's like taking off a heavy backpack. It's like changing the course of a river, you know, where we think if we want it hard enough, we just but all we have is one little shovel. If we dig hard enough, we can change the course of this river. That's like trying to control the world around us. We can't do that. So we observe and we see what's going on. So, Romans 12:2, I love this scripture, and I'm sure we all know it. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds, so that you may discern the will of God. You know, be in the world, but not of the world. And we have to actively work on transforming the mind. We see things, we don't have to get into the car and haul down the rails. We don't have to. We can just see it and honor and pray for those folks that, I almost went political, but pray for the folks that we don't agree with. And just honor them that they're perfectly where they are. If we can accept that people are perfectly where they are in their evolutionary process, we're going to experience peace automatically. If we can accept, now this is a hard one, that the world is perfect as it is, because it enables every individual soul the freedom of choice to decide their karma. We are the product of our karma. What we are is our karma. And here's something to hang on to. Your karma is your ego. When you transcend one, you transcend the other. Does that make sense? It changes with us. It evolves with us wherever we go. It is our karma. There's good karma. Man, I inherited some really good karma in this life. I really did. The first time I surrendered to God, it was like catch up quick, bro. Because I had this awesome mystical experience, and it just set my compass, and it kept me in line. What a gift. Because of my accumulated good karma, what I had accomplished previously in other lifetimes. So, the other day, Kristen was driving the car, and I'm in the passenger seat, and I'm going, wow, I didn't know that was right there. It's like a whole new world. I get to see Austin from a different perspective. And when you're driving, you're just, checking the mirrors of me. I used to drive race cars a little bit. And you got to be so present in a race car. Because to be quick, you got to be on the edge of dying every second. The car's out of control, and you're just loosely controlling the drift, and you don't want to scrub off too much speed, so you're always at the limit of the tires. Always checking the mirrors, always looking, if I'm going to pass or whatever. It's like meditation. It quiets the chatter of the monkey mind because it's all about survival. When you're going into a corner at 170 and you got to slow down to 50, 60 miles an hour, it's serious. It's really serious. Cars are all out of shape, and you're in a pack of cars, and anybody makes a wrong move, there's a big pileup. So it's being mindful of everything that's mine to do. And you don't have time for opinions in a race car. Oh, look he's got a new sticker. He got a new sponsor. Into the wall. It doesn't work that way. During the Insight meditation, I had an opportunity I scheduled some time with Robert. He took different meetings with different people. And so I sat down with him, and again, mindfulness. So there's different ways that we can use mindfulness to heal our being, different modalities of healing. So I came up to him, and I pinched a nerve in my neck a few weeks ago, and it's really been bugging me. And some folks around here have been helping me. Thank you so much with that. But I shared that with Robert. I feel like I got a knife in my back. He goes, okay, well, let's just go into that right now. And then meditated about it. He goes, okay. Can you pull it out? And so I went in and I just saw myself reaching back and pulling this knife out. I go, yeah. He goes, okay. What is the knife saying to you? Wow. So I went into that, and I just listened. And I felt like the knife said, you put me there. And I just started laughing. Because of all this stress I've put myself through, looking for a house, working on the Sunday talk, trying to, back when I was in this little church in El Cajon, suburb of San Diego, I'm like, hey, nobody's going to see it anyway, so what if I screw up? Joking. But there wasn't the pressure to perform, and I could just relax. I feel like when I'm in my element, I'm up here and I'm relaxed, and if I know what I'm going to say, then I can have fun and relax a little bit. But the pressure leading up to that, I was putting myself under all sorts of pressure. And I don't have to do that. I just need to be prepared and allow Spirit to flow. Because all the tangents I don't script those. They're just fun. I want to share what's going on in here because it's a lot of fun. So practicing mindfulness in relationships, I think, is essential if you want the relationship to last. There are so many things that can happen in a relationship, and you really want to employ mindfulness so that you can feel and understand what your partner or your friends are going through, so you can be present with them and help them and assist them. All makes sense, right? So, thinkingness. I'm running into stuff. Thinkingness. Being mindful of what's coming up and knowing that it's natural. So the thinkingness, the thoughts that pop up, it's a product of our karma, which is a product of living in the house that belongs to an animal. And the animal nature is all about survival. And so the ego is always trying to consider danger, threats, that sort of thing. It wants to protect its longevity and livelihood. If you didn't have a body, you wouldn't have any fear. Think about it. What are we so afraid of? Ultimately, we're afraid of dying. Well, we're all going to die. Got it? And to my understanding of people that have had near-death experiences, all of a sudden it's like, that's not me. I'm up here. Their senses are even more clear. Oh yeah, we hope to get Anita Murjani this year, if we can get her. Have you read her book, Dying to Be Me? Great. You can read 2 chapters over and over and over again and be confident about checking out of the body. The real death is when the ego dies, and evidently that doesn't happen until you go to total Christhood. So I don't know that we have to worry about that this week. Maybe next week. Work on that. So thinking this, because we have this body, we're subject to fear. For it to stay alive, we feed it, we house it, we clothe it, bathe it, all that. But now we want to step apart from that ego trap. We want to step out of that animal nature and observe it. So we're looking for deeper mindfulness, transcending the ego dominance. That's the goal here, okay? There's a beautiful quote by the Buddha I saw this week. The watched mind brings happiness. The watched mind brings happiness. Socrates said an unexamined life isn't worth living. So how do we watch our life? How do we watch our thoughts? When we get sucked into a story, the leading edge of the ego is the experiencer. It wants to experience everything there is to do. That's the way I live my life. I had this creed in high school. I will try everything at least once, probably twice if it didn't kill me the first time. And that's the way I lived. I didn't give any forethought to anything. I would just, hey, let's go. Let's go. Let's do it. And I was an adrenaline junkie, so I totally got off on that. I was addicted to experiencing. Totally attached to experiencing everything I could. It's a big world. I wanted to do it all. By the time I cash it in, is the way I was thinking. So, we have this out-of-control mind that's sometimes just going. Have you ever had that experience where the brain, the physical brain, does like this dump of data, and all of a sudden you're strobing all these thoughts, and you can't stop it, you can't control it? The first time I had that, I thought I was crazy. The second time, I was pretty sure I was crazy. Fortunately, they happened, time apart from each other. And then I heard a great teacher talking about, we're not the thinker of thoughts. We're not the thinker of our thoughts. It took me a long time to break that down and figure out, what am I? What am I? I'm that which observes the thinker, the thinking of thoughts. So I'm behind that. So the next time that happened and all these images started projecting up on the screen, I could see it, and I'm like, I wasn't attached to stopping it. Because the first time I was so freaked out, I was like, stop, you're going crazy, oh no. And this time I was able to just sit back, imagine I was at a drive-in movie theater, and all those projections are going up there, but I'm down here in my car with my popcorn. Not attached to what was going on the big screen. That wasn't me. It's just a physiological brain dump. So what am I? I'm not the leading edge of the experiencer, but I'm observing it. So I back up. I am the witness observer. That's my true essence. If we can identify as the witness observer, witnessing the phenomena of the world around us, and not try to control its outcome, we're going to have a lot of peace in our life. Fewer pinched nerves and back spasms, I would assume, as well. So the getting there, how do we get there? I read this quote. It's wonderful. It's about devotion. What is devotion? We have innate within us a tremendous, intense, powerful devotion. We don't have it. We don't have to develop it. We only have to rediscover it. There is within us already a pre-existent an energy of such enormous power that one summons up that power to relinquish any and every attachment that stands in the way. You won't find the willingness to do this within the ego structure. The ego will instantly give you an argument of why it should not persist in that direction. to dismantle itself. So, one has to reach deeper within oneself at the very innate core of one's spiritual being is a power of enormous strength, which alone can accomplish the impossible. That's that Christ presence, that Buddha nature, which is supremely powerful, more powerful than anything on the planet. And so if we can step back and allow that power to be present, but it requires some devotion to get us there and some practice of not getting on the trains at the train station, but to just sit back and observe. So, that was from a lecture, by the way, from Dr. Hawkins. Here's an excerpt that I want to read from this book. It's one of my favorite books. It's Discovery of the Presence of God. Great title, right? By Hawkins as well. At a certain period in spiritual evolution, and by assent or agreement of the will, there arises the inner decision to seriously and actively pursue spiritual awareness for its own sake. This may be accompanied by a change of lifestyle and or the seeking out of spiritual teachers or communities like UCOH. Operationally, the central elements of seriously committed inner spiritual work consists of, and then in his book he has 9 different things. I'm going to share 4 of them. Discipline of focus without deviation. To be serious about moving on spiritually, okay? It's paramount. The willingness to surrender all craving and fear to God. That's from the Buddha. To have no craving, no aversions, no hatred, or no fear. Anything that you want to repel, just let it be. Let's not try to control those things that are out of our control. Moving from self-interest as the experiencer to that of the witness observer. So when we're in the fray of something and we really want to get into it and just, that moment we realize, we breathe, and we choose to be mindful and go, wait a minute, there's something bigger happening here. I'll disengage my animal, call off the dogs, calm them down. It's okay, settle down. And then really see. The metaphor I heard is like, our mind is like this huge dome stadium, this huge arena, and it's silent. The silence, that silence, the big S silence. And there's this little tiny TV set over in the corner. And the brain is consumed with that little tiny TV set and forgets about all the silence. Totally preoccupied with that thing. It wants to tune into that one thing, and yet all the silence of the universe is all around us. The presence of God is everywhere present. One power, one presence active in the world and in my life, in the universe and in my life. God the good. So we step back so we can see the whole stadium. The last point here is the willingness to relinquish judgmentalism and opinion about anything that is observed. Just to be an unconditional acceptance of any person, anything. And we will experience peace. And because of that peace, we'll be free to love. Amen? Blessings.
Thank you for joining us today. If you like the message, we invite you to like it or share it. And we also want to let you know that we're on Instagram, Twitter, and we'll see you again next Sunday on Facebook at 11:25.
We're a New Thought church where lives are transformed. And we welcome you to check us out. Check out our website, unityhills.org. We'll see you next week.
Namaste.